we initially we talked about hardware, green signage, extending lifetimes, and what I've discovered working on the green signage topic for the yearbook is, I think the most fascinating things happens below the level of hardware. It is when it comes to the day-to-day operations and what you can do in order to save costs, energy, but also be a more efficient and good supplier. So for this is the purpose of the coming 25 to 30 minutes. And for this, I have Oliver Schwede of CANCOM, the leading DACH digital signage integrator nowadays after the acquisition in Austria. Markus Di Serno, a partner at Invidis Impact. Alan Kaufman, president of DynaScan. And David Keribin, of Cenareo in France, who has been working with calculating CO2 emissions in a very good way. So that's our topic. And Alan, we start with you. You're traveling the furthest. You come from LA.
I'm coming, from LA. Short flight, 11 hours.
Yes, that's nothing.
Nothing.
Piece of cake. High brightness is always connected with energy consumption. We had this bad examples these days. You're more or less you're the bad boy of the industry when it comes to energy consumption.
That is correct.
Yes.
It's a very wrong perception that high brightness consumes a lot of power, which is not always true when you look in depth. But since the beginning, the high brightness has been the first target. It's the most visible item. It's exposed to the streets, either in windows or in outdoor kiosks. So it's always been the first target for regulations, and that's why we were prepared from the beginning.
But when you say that you're more or less accused of being high energy intensive, what are you doing in order to meet this perception?
We were lucky in that respect that from the beginning, the way we started building our high brightness screens about 12 years ago, we did the right things. We didn't know that the power consumption was such a big issue or carbon footprint would be such a big issue. But all our system has been designed always to be very power efficient by using very high efficiency LEDs, using more of them so you don't have to push them, by using special drivers that we built to control the LED, the lighting of the LED, by using what we call local dimming, where you need a lot of regions within the LED backlight, so you can save on power, where you don't have to emit a high brightness image, for instance, darker areas. So we did by using metal instead of plastics, that you get better heat dissipation. By getting better heat dissipation, you get more efficiency because heat equals resistance in electrical circuits. So we did all these right things from the beginning, for the purpose of extending the lifetime, which became another subject. And for the purpose of extending the lifetime, which Florian just spoke about. So all these things are already built in, and now we found out that really meets all the requirements of today's market. So high power consumption is a perception of the high brightness displays, which is not always true. For instance, 55-inch 4,000 nits consumes 160 watts, which is a very low power consumption comparing to the brightness. So we've been the target of regulators or people like that. But when you go into depth, and I think David will speak about how you calculate carbon footprint, you will see that the power consumption is really relatively small in the whole environment.
Very good. That we have met some of the challenging opinions about high brightness to have a different view. Oliver, you are one of the leading integrator now in Austria. You are Germany and Austria, but you also have been working with acquisitions. And how do you make sure in such a not very harmonious organization to make sure that the efficiency standards in the digital signage installations are really followed through and carried through, that you save energy, that you are efficient? How do you make sure this? What kind of tools are you using?
Well, I think the topic of energy saving is something on the customer side. So we don't sell displays by telling them, okay, this is energy efficient. Of course, you have the possibility to activate these options. But first of all, we have a good partnership with our suppliers. So I think it's very important to rely on good products we sell to the customer. That's the first point. And then, of course, as we are a large company, I mean, CANCOM is now, with the acquisition, should be like 5,600 people. Not everybody is dealing with digital signage. Most of the business is done with traditional IT, network, data center stuff. So we have our processes. We have our dedicated units, like the people who are responsible for RMA. We have our logistics. We have our technicians out there, and there are already processes in place. So if a customer has a problem with their solution, he has an email address, he has a telephone number, he calls our service desk. This goes into a ticket system. Everything is protocoled. Tickets are sent to the right people of the business units, like professional service organization. So everything is pretty much structured within the CANCOM, and we, as a digital media solutions for signage and media technology, we have to adapt to the standards. And of course, we have all the audits which on a regular basis. We have to make sure that our business is compliant with the standards given by this huge organization. And I think that's a key point where we provide a certain quality level and an efficiency level. So it's basically given by the management.
Markus, you have been sitting in different chairs. You have been working as an integrator. You're now working as a consultant. You have seen there sometimes our mutual discussions have been around. Okay, sometimes it looks good on paper, but when it meets reality, that maybe there are some challenges that still needs to be solved. What are your main findings when it comes to efficient operations, cost savings? Are these standards that Oliver is describing that are valid for CANCOM? Are these the standard procedures in the market, or is there a bit of high and low to observe?
At the end, I think we started at a point where digital signage was just a small market, and we came in more or less out of the marketing departments. Our partners were more or less marketing partners, and even we were also dealing with IT stuff. Yes, but taking the way from IT to marketing, that's not always the easiest way. Everybody might know in this room, but at the end, having a cost efficiency service and also then running the systems, that's something that was an idea we had when we just started the thing, because there are a lot of technologies out of the market, but unfortunately, and that's the really the point that hurts, nobody or not everybody are really using them. So based on what Alan told us, what I think within CANCOM, it's a structured organization, and in there it works. But even in Germany, we have a lot of small integrators that were grown and grown and grown. But basically, they're coming out of a marketing, probably a little bit technical idea, but even having this up and running and having this maintenance ideas, not only for reducing power, it's also for reducing the going on sites and all this. Cost of service and all this. The predictive maintenance is an idea that not really everybody is doing right now. So even plain black content is not just saving money. It's just you don't know how to really use your system.
Yeah, but on a scale 1 to 10, how mature is the industry in the European? Are we a good 5, or are we? Let's say, is the CANCOM maybe the role model with an 8 or 9, or where are we? You have seen different companies. That's why I point.
We're between 3 and 9. That depends on the integrator and really on the partner. Yeah.
So there's a lot of room for improvement. And David, you have been working in France with a completely different topic, but it touches also how you efficiently structure operations, because you have been measuring CO2 emissions, which is also, of course, a green signage factor, but also it's also cost factor after the last year with the war in Ukraine and the rapidly increasing energy prices. What did you do, and what did you find out?
Yeah, for sure. So at the Club Digital Media, a club in France, we worked a lot on building a calculator to measure CO2 emissions. So we are all talking about consumption of screens. The problem is consumption of screens is of course, good when we talk about a problem with too much energy use. The problem is if we don't mix it with the carbon mix of the country, then we have wrong calculations. So just to give you an overview, we used the calculator from LG sustainability reports, and then we calculate the same emissions for a screen, the same screen with our calculator. On LG report, 80% of the CO2 emissions were due to consumptions, like during the screen openings use. And in our calculator, it was the contrary. 80% on the building phase. The only difference is the carbon mix used where the screen is used. It was used in the US versus France. 30 times bigger carbon emissions per watt per hour. So it's really impressive to
Yeah, but there, I think it's a much more complicated discussion because you have nuclear power in France, and there are discussions in the public domain that whether nuclear power belongs to the taxonomy of the European Union or whether it's really environmentally harmful. So there, but I think the energy mix is certainly a very important factor. But how is the awareness among integrators that you more or less energy savings is not just good for the environment, but it's also good for efficient organization and for cost? How do you see this? You have ambitious sustainability targets, if I read your annual report correctly. So how do you make sure that this day to day is it followed through?
Yeah. So
it's because it's still people. It's not only a process. It's still people that need to do it on site.
Yes, that's exactly the point I wanted to emphasize. We try, of course, to avoid this on-site service. So we want to make sure we don't have to go there, but because it always means we have to have at least 2 people going out there with a car, with equipment, stuff like that. So it costs a lot of money, time, and of course it consumes energy. So what we try to do is we try to sell solutions which can be monitored from remote, which can be controlled from remote, to make sure that the first effort is always something which is remotely done from the call center where the technicians are, through our data center, which are as is cost, because we have our own data center for other services. So, and we are trying to run the signage software there, the management tools, and then the first place try to do everything remotely, which of course is for every AV system integrator a big issue, because displays are different, the control commands are different, the media players are different platforms, Windows, Tizen, Android now, or Google. So we really have to make sure that we try to integrate this in one management platform. And we're working on this. It's not finalized. We have this in the traditional IT with Cebex and other monitoring software, much easier. But when it comes to digital signage, and we do also AV stuff, when you look at Crestron, Extron, their control solutions, and you have the Epsons and whatsoever, projectors. So it's totally different game in this sector than in the IT. So it's much complicated. So we don't have a final solution for this to come to a point, but we're working on this, and we wish we could have this remote management and control compatibility or a management system for all the products we use.
Give you a little perspective for manufacturing.
Yes,
right? Because we do, and especially in the outdoor units, that's where it starts, because they are more remote than in stores. We do have complete control and monitoring systems that are building some intelligence to them. So actually you can do probably around 80 to 90% fixing from remote sites to the component level. So it's not just turning off the screen and restarting, but you can manage each subcomponents within the system. That's more true for the outdoor, of course. You also we're building predictability for maintenance, for instance, and that's another part of AI. You collect data on systems, and you statistically know that within maybe 4 months that power supply number 1 might fail. So you try to build efficiency where you send your technicians maybe it's the right time to change that power supply, even if it's not failed yet. So you don't have to do a return trip. But that way we can reduce, of course, the expense, the OPEX on the screens. You can also reduce your carbon footprint because you don't send people, like you said, 2 persons with a car inside the city. So all these initiatives are already built from the manufacturer side. And that's, we have to teach all our partners, the integrators, how do you make best use of those systems?
There are 2 follow-up questions on this one. One is, it seems like digital out-of-home is more advanced when it comes to predictive maintenance due to the environmental, or not, let's say, due to the environment where it is operating, because it's more heat, it's more cold, so you need to be more resistant. Is this correct?
It's more advanced because, number one, the networks themselves are more remote than usual, you know, when you do inside cities. So the need is more there for the systems, the outdoor systems. The outdoor systems are also more expensive, of course, about 10 times more than.
And even you have another return on invest if a screen outdoor is not running. It's another point.
You're not getting an angry call; you're getting a reduction in your fees. Yes,
I spoke about it before on the out-of-home, especially with programmatic buying. If you miss that, you miss the income, which can be huge for networks.
And you were also mentioning that you need to train the integrators, and then it's coming back to our question: how mature is the industry? How receptive are the integrators?
Very much so, more lately, because the debate, and that's what I said, we had those systems, but people didn't realize it was needed. Now all the demands and especially the larger RFPs across the channel, I mean, either outdoor or indoor, require this type of information. So integrators come back to us. It's a learning process together with our partners, but we need to know that the systems are here. And how to make best use of them. Florian spoke about light detection, you know, lowering the brightness, which is not such an easy question to implement. I mean, we all have light sensors, we all have timers. Now we build an intelligent system to do a mix of both, because detecting the actual light that you need on the screen is not an easy proposition. So our systems, we start building this intelligence, and the database is building up every day. How do you find the perfect brightness for that screen?
And you are talking about educating the integrators, but the problem comes also from the end users at the end. And I have a good example for a fashion brand where they decided to switch on the screens 30 minutes before the opening of the shop in the morning, just because if it's not working, then the people will raise an alert. And same at the end of the day. Maybe there will be some customers at the end, so let's extend the closing hours of the screen 30 minutes after. What happens is, if the last employee of the shop is leaving before these 30 minutes, he sees the screen switch on and he says, okay, it's a problem. So he plugged it out. The problem of this is that he doesn't plug it in the morning. Then it requires operation. So it's not just educating the integrators, it's the whole market, and it's really a big problem.
But is this, with your experience of, I think, 20 plus years, is the human factor still more or less destroying all the nice processes and plans that the CANCOMs and the DynaScans of this world have?
It's half of the goal. The human factor is still a point. It is like it is. Even doing something good is not really doing something good. That's how he plugs the screen out. But even I think predictive maintenance and all this, not based on the sustainable idea, but on the having low on-site services and all this is available for now more than 15 years. So we really have to take care of this, and the integrator with the clients together have to take care of this and really have to build up services that are on that level. And even if we're just looking on the one side, for example, we say, okay, we take a screen with the SoC, power consumption is lower. But at the end, if you have to change 85-inch one, you have to change the whole screen if just the SoC is broken. This is not really a good idea. Basically, on that, we really have to work on both sides, even educating the people in the store, the people at the integrator, but also having the products that are useful for just have a smooth way of services.
But then does consolidation help in order to get more efficient and more sustainable digital signage operations? Because then you get rid of all the small and medium-sized integrators who don't know really what they're doing. So it's a provocative. But you're the big guy. No? You're the big guy now in DACH region. How can you influence the, let's say, the standards due to your size, to your routines, processes, that the standards of the market as such have to rise and become better?
I don't know if it's our task to build the standards for the market. So I guess we have our own standards we are following, right, try to provide high quality solutions. What we can do is like focusing on those suppliers from whom we think they build the standards, like using then the Samsung displays or the DynaScan displays and not some cheap Chinese available stuff, but supporting these partners and working with the partners together. For maybe this is what a CANCOM can do, but we cannot build standards for the market. So I guess each and every AV integrator has to build his own standards.
Yeah, I think this is right. It was a provocative question. my thing is, let's say, what quality, high quality integrators and manufacturers can do, that maybe they improve the overall level of the entire market service efficiency.
I think the whole industry needs to improve together. Us, our competitors, the Samsung of the world, and we all have, because we're all fighting the same battle. And I wouldn't dismiss the smaller integrators. Some people have very good talents. Integrator is like an architect for a building. So you can be a very large firm, you can be a very good architect by yourself in your office. So I wouldn't dismiss them. They do have that expertise. And the whole industry needs to learn from the manufacturing standpoint, is what features and what design can I do to improve the longevity of the screens and reduce power consumption, of course. It's not only for the carbon footprints, also for the OPEX. We are usually dealing with very large networks. So every little cost of 1 kilowatt here compounded over 1,000 screens 24/7 becomes a huge capex also. Today power cost a lot, might drop later.
Yeah, but will not go back to the levels that we had.
Well, we never know. It's hard to predict the future. But in any case, it's cost, it's money, and our customers are in to make money with it, whether they advertise their own goods. So as an industry, we have together to work. What are the solutions that the integrators can bring? What tools can the manufacturer give them to work with? And I think it's a collaborative. That's why these kind of meetings are very important, because we all exchange ideas. We find the needs, the demands, and together we need to lift the industry. So that would be the healthy approach.
I think it's also a very good closing remark, because it's togetherness, standardization, and continuous improvement are certainly key factors in order to also give more awareness to it's not just the installation, but it's also the day-to-day that really both satisfies the end consumer, the customer, and will make sure that digital signage as such as a discipline becomes a higher reputation, maybe for many more. And thank you so much for this panel. And if you would like to experience what kind of technology is around the corner, then please stay in this room, because we will now discussing LED, LCD, or anything else what's coming around the corner. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.